Hope you're having a good weekend, guys. This is going to be a real quick ASX tip video on how to better judge what's going to happen with a spec stock once it opens after the auction period. Now, this is a very specific kind of thing to pay attention to based on the history of a stock. And it's usually the recent history. Here we have CDY Limited, Sell Mid Limited, which is the stock ticker CDY. Now, let's tell a bit of a story before I go into the timing. We have a stock that has 2 days of epic volumes, and we have a huge gap up. Now, the stock seems to have failed, or it's gone sideways and it's failed, and we can see it's gapped down quite nicely here, and it's gapped down again here. So what's that tell you? It tells you, well, look, there's a lot of people here stuck are in this area, right? There's a lot of people. And hell, you even have people here thinking they've bought the bottom because they expect the stock to go up. Right? That's the only reason you buy at these kinds of dips, because you believe that it's going to go up. Now, of course, it's gapped down, and what you have here is a stock that's gapped up on news. Now, what do you think these people are going to do? These ones on the left-hand side that have bought into this stock at 18 cents. They suddenly see a stock that they've been sitting at a loss on for maybe about 3 weeks, maybe about a month. They've maybe lost 2 grand, 3 grand, 4 grand. Who knows how much they've lost? But now all of a sudden the stock's gapped up and now they're at break even. And then a few seconds later they see the stock tick down a bit. So now they're back in a little bit of a loss. Think about it. Put yourself in their shoes. What are you going to do? And it's probably most likely retailers, because they're the ones that trade these kind of stocks. The psychology of these people is that they're going to panic and they're going to break even. Can you imagine the relief of being down 2 grand, 4 grand, 5 grand, and now you break even? That's almost as good as making 5 grand. You're going to be so happy because you're finally not at a loss. That's the psychology of the people that are trapped on the left side. So you're not only going to experience sell pressure at the top here from people that want to take profits from down here, but also from the people that want to break even here. And the higher you go, the more people that are wanting to break out. So what does it take for a stock to just gap up and shoot to the upside? So gap up here and then carry on. Well, it's going to take a hell of an announcement, and I mean a monster of an announcement. Some seriously good news. Now, I don't know what Sell Mid does, right? I don't care. I trade stocks. I don't really care about what they do if I'm day trading. But let's pretend it's a biomedical stock. Sell Mid kind of sounds like a biomed. And let's say AstraZeneca gets involved and whatever, has some sort of announcement that they do a partnership that's worth tens of millions of dollars. Yeah, brilliant. That's a kind of news announcement that would gap up and rally. And you're welcome to read the news for CDY. I do recall it was good news, but it wasn't groundbreaking, right? It wasn't anything fantastic. So if we bring up the 3-minute chart, we can see exactly what happened. And I tweeted this out as well, that I would get in CDY after the open. Because guess what? It's going to open, and of course, it's going to sell down. So I bought in at 16.5. I traded it for a pip or two. It wasn't that great. But that's how I saw the stock working, was it was going to gap up really hard, and then it was going to sell down straight away. Why? Well, it's just a statistical likelihood that people are first of all going to take profits, and second of all, stale holders are going to want to get out. And you've got so much volume as well. So that's how I see this happening in the morning. That's the play that I saw. And then we can go on to something like ESK, and this one's a little bit less obvious on the daily chart in terms of where the gap ups are. But if we just have a look at these monster volumes here, can you imagine how many people are stuck there? Hell, even the following days, how many people are stuck in these trades here. So if I bring up the 3-minute chart, it'll be a little more evident as to what's been happening. We've got 2 examples of epic gap ups. So we've got here and here. And on high volume as well. So what we have is, let's just move this chart along. How many people are going to want to sell out around here and about a minute or 2 when it pumped? So we can see the volumes, the first 6 minutes, right? These are 3-minute candles. You can see just how much volume is churned. And then you just look at, well, historically, these people would want to break even. These people would want to break even. You can see the volumes here as well. Hell, you can even see the volumes here of people that bought in here and most likely held on its way down. So you can see exactly just where the volumes are, and you can see why people are selling out, right? This is the recent history. This is very recent. There are so many people along here that are going to want to sell on your story, on the news story of this stock. I don't know what news came out, but it doesn't matter. It's got to be an absolute monster of a news announcement to carry on to the upside. And even here, it's even better. You can see that's where it went to the high. This is where it opened in the morning, and this is where it's dropped to. But look at this volume. In the first 3 minutes, do you know how many people are going to be stuck here, wanting to get out here? Yeah, this many people, most likely. There's going to be a lot of trapped holders, and that's the psychology of people holding the stock. They're going to want to sell out, break even. To them, that's a good outcome, is to break even. Because from $1 to 80 cents, they're sitting at, what's this? That's a 25% loss. They're sitting at a 25% loss from here. So if they put 10 grand, they're down 2.5. Right? They're down 2.5 grand, and all of a sudden, the next day, wow, I can break for even. That's the psychology. Or if they see it's starting to drop, then guess what? They're going to lose maybe a couple of $100 instead of that 2.5 grand. If they see it drop down, these people are most likely going to panic and exit here. And even something like SPT. If I bring up the daily chart here, it's a little less evident what's happened. But we can see, if we bring up the 3-minute chart, and if we zoom out, we can see, if we look back at the MasterCard announcement, we can see exactly what's happened. Let's draw the horizontal here. This is where it opened, and this is the high of the first 3 minutes. If we zoom out, and it wasn't that long ago. It wasn't that long ago where we meet these people here, and the huge volumes here as well. Yeah, they're going to want to break out for even. Plus, you've got the sell pressure of everyone else recently that's happy to take profit on the open, right? And that's why an announcement like MasterCard, you see this. This is FOMO exit right here. This is people wanting to get the hell out, right? Even though the announcement was brilliant, right? That was the MasterCard announcement. It was fantastic, and it's still gapped up and sold down pretty heavily. That's a good, what was that, 92 to, yeah, that's a good 10%. What's that, 12.5% drop in 3 minutes, 6 minutes. And it's quite evident no matter where you go, even here. If the all-time highs, right? We draw a horizontal up here. Now this gapped and moved up, but still you can see exactly how horizontal resistance works. If we zoom out, yeah, guess what? Got a whole lot of people here exiting from that epic shoot up day, and those are probably the same people that wanted to get out there. Now that's horizontal resistance, and there was perhaps a lot less likelihood on that day, if we just bring up the 3-minute chart again. So around here, there was a lot less likelihood to sell down. So that was the opening price. Historically, if we zoom out, who's going to exit? Except obviously the holders. The holders from down here, some of them might take profits, sure. But that's the only sell pressure you have. You don't have a stock that's been plummeting, and you don't have people around here that are wanting to break out for even, right? The only people that want to probably break out for even are all the way back here. And even then, there's no one really of concern until you hit this horizontal resistance on the left-hand side here. And those are people that have been holding for well over a year at that point in time. So that's how resistance works, and that's how you can sort of, you can get a good idea of whether your stock is going to gap up and sell down hard, or gap up and rally. So even on average news, you can gap up and rally, but if you have historical stale holders, and when I say stale, I mean, I'm talking about recent stale holders, people that have been holding for maybe a week or two, up to about maybe a month and a half, maybe 2 months. And it all really depends on volume as well, right? So if we go back to CDY, we can see that April, that's a hell of a lot of volume, right? And that's a hell of a lot of people there that are stuck. So if this stock ever gaps up to, let's say, 25 cents, can you imagine how monstrous of an effort it would be to push this stock to the upside when you've got all these people with all this volume wanting to exit? So this isn't financial advice or a recommendation to buy or sell any particular stock. This is just an educational video on things to consider when the stock opens, right? If you're looking at a stock, check the history, see if there's any recent stale holders, and check the volumes as well. And you can see something like, we bring up even something like, let's say ERL was a stock that moved. It gapped up and it pushed really hard, right? We can see if we zoom out, the only sell pressure this stock has in the last year, there's nothing historically except for people that want to take profits. If we zoom out, yeah, look, sure, there's people all the way back in 2018, but and look at the volumes. There aren't any like epic spikes that are gonna add resistance when this opens up at 16 cents and then rallies to the upside. What have you got? You've got people from 2017. I don't think, and based on volumes, look, this is the only epic volumes that we can see here, and that's based in 2016. These people are probably all long gone. But that's something worth considering, is looking at the history of the chart, seeing for recent stale holders, and look, the more volumes there are coming from up to down, the more volumes there are, big spikes, the more likelihood you're going to anticipate sell pressure. So keep that in mind. It's something worth looking at, and I wouldn't base your entire trading decision purely on that, but it's something I put heavy emphasis on. If something comes out with news and gaps up, I must check to determine, I must check the history to determine what's going to happen when it opens up in the morning. So guys, I hope you found that useful. If you did, please do hit that subscribe button. That would be much appreciated. Thanks guys, and have a good rest of the weekend.